and we can get going. Apologies for that. I'm trying to juggle too many people here. Okay, here we go. Okay, perspective. We are ready to go. Okay, so how easy is perspective? It is quite a challenging subject. And I think within the first few weeks of my getting going with the medium, I very, very quickly noticed how frustrated I was getting with drawing life around me and making it look realistic and feeling as if I had progressed as an artist. So very early on, I started researching what do we need to learn about perspective, what types are there, and how do we apply them in our sketchbook. So perspective, there are 3 types, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to be running through 3 different types of perspective this evening, and predominantly focusing on the first and second types of perspective. But before we go to jumping into that sketching session, I want us to go to 1494 to Italy, and we are going to go and meet Ludovico Sforza, who is the Duke of Milan, and he has now commissioned Leonardo da Vinci to paint The Last Supper. It took Leonardo 4 years to paint this painting, and those of you who have seen this before, it has absolutely lived up to its historic namesake as being the eulogy to the Duke of Milan at the time. The Duke of Milan chose a small church in Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan. And he painted this on the refectory wall of the church. So monks that were part of the order would come into the refectory every day and look up and see this painting that had been painting. Why have I included this today? It's very, very important because of how it uses 1-point perspective. And I want to just show you now what I mean by 1-point perspective. So can you see the perspective lines of The Last Supper? Leonardo was known to have drilled and hammered a nail into the wall on Christ's temple as the centerpiece of this painting up on the wall. And he spent 4 years dabbling, spending intense periods of time on this, or spending different periods looking at how he could actually develop the infrastructure of this painting. It is an extraordinary painting. I think what we can see as well is, if you take a look at the panels running down the side of the painting, the black panels, they formed an extension to the refectory itself. And if you notice, the colors of the walls of the refectory are slightly different. He matched the shade of the sunlight hitting one of the walls as part of the painting itself. So the painting itself became some sort of almost 3D holographic extension to the refectory itself. And it was all created through this sort of use of line and perspective. And one of the things that I think it's really important to kind of take forward is how we ourselves can apply perspective in our own sketchbooks. So 1-point perspective is what we're starting with in a minute. I'm going to switch my camera. And one of the things that I want to share with you is that although I'm sharing the techniques and tools of perspective, we shouldn't be dogmatic to linear perspective. We should understand it, but we shouldn't become obsessed getting it right in the pursuit of our creative styles. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the toolkit that I use, but actually it's sometimes irrelevant as you're getting going and drawing. Don't become too labored or too stressed by it. It's something that is designed to help you. Okay, so I'm going to switch my camera now. So bear with me. So I'm coming back in. So I should just say that while I'm switching the camera and just messing about with it, if you've got any questions, can you just bob them in the chat? Mick is supporting me this evening. Mick, tell me, what does that look like? Does the camera look okay like that?
Yeah, just pull your sketchbook down a touch.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great, lovely. Okay, so we're starting with 1 point perspective this evening. So earlier today, I bobbed out and I sketched a 1 point perspective visual. So I'm going to show you in a minute how this is constructed. And as part of your activity this week, as you get going, is I want you to go out and do a couple of visuals like this one. So 1 point perspective, here we go. So for us to create basic depth into our pictures, 1 point perspective is based on a horizon line. So a horizon line is always at our eye level, okay? We then have one vanishing point, okay? And we then have lines that draw us into that vanishing point, okay? Can people see that? I might actually flip to a much darker pencil, okay.
Oh, that's better.
Brilliant, thank you, Mick. Okay. The most common type of sketch that you can do here is one where you are out in a park, where you're walking, where you're looking at a scene in front of you, okay? So because our horizon line is at our eye level here, we're always going to have visuals that are similar head on, okay? So this is always at our eye level, like so. We then have, let's say this is a footpath that we're running through. We then have our trees running down the side, like so. And I'm just roughly sketching this so that I can show you what we mean. Last week, we covered the basic techniques of drawing, and perspective and proportion is the third on my list in my basic drawing toolkit. So here we have an avenue of trees. It's very, very, very roughly sketched, this, folks. It's to give you an idea. But already, very basically, you can see that 1 point perspective is all about this 1 point here, okay? Which is called a vanishing point, because literally these lines vanish into the picture. And we've got our horizon line here. Perspective is made up of a series of different lines when we get going, all right? So I want you all in the next week to incorporate some of this type of sketching into your sketchbooks. And I've got a couple of visuals to share with you as well from previous sketchbooks that I've put together. So this is one you may have seen me promote. And again, we've got our horizon line across here. We've got a vanishing point in the middle here. And we've got our trees getting bigger as they're coming towards us, but smaller as they're moving away from us. What's extraordinary about perspective is that I think it plays a little bit with your brain. It's quite a difficult technique to handle because it operates in paradox. If you have a think about it, you're looking at something that is in total opposite to your natural thinking process. And that's why if you struggle with drawing perspective, you might get things muddled up or upside down. In fact, do give me some feedback in the chat about some of the challenges you find with perspective. Mick, I can see some questions coming in. Do we need to just maybe answer some of those if we can?
Yeah, there's a couple saying, does the vanishing point need to be centered or in the middle of the horizon line?
So
that's from Sharon.
That's a great question. So you can actually move the vanishing point at different points, depending on the angle of your object. So this is a very, very basic 1 point vanishing. But you might have something or an object on an angle. So your vanishing point would start here, okay? So here we have our vanishing point. And what I want to draw are some sunglasses. So for example, you might have your sunglasses here. Okay. So it's very rough, this. But can you see how already you can use the different type of vanishing point to show you or to tell you the angle at which your object sits. So I'll find an example of that in here and I shall show you. These are not the most brilliant sunglasses. Okay. Let's see, here we go. Here's an example. Right, can you see how the vanishing point on these sunglasses is going to be somewhere here? You can sketch them through here and through there. So they sit in an angle. Hopefully that explains that question, but you could, you know, whatever object you work with, you can alternate where your vanishing point on that horizon sits. So with your simple objects in your sketchbooks, if you're struggling with kind of embracing how they should fit, what the page needs to look like, have a think about how you would structure them, especially if they're geometric, like sunglasses. I'm going to do cups in a minute, boxes. All of these things can sit on different horizon line as a simple sort of structure. Does that sort of answer the question? Okay, that's 1 point perspective. Mick, are there any more questions on 1 point perspective?
Yeah, there's a couple. Oh, well, there's an unrelated one.
Okay.
What pencils do you use, including coloured ones, please, from Lorraine?
Okay, I can come back to that at the end if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shulamit has put, what do you mean it is a paradox?
Yeah. Okay, so Betty Edwards in Drawing on the Right-Hand Side of the Brain talks about how we very rarely employ the left side of our brain when it comes to drawing. So a lot of people, when they start deconstructing and learning to draw, struggle to work out how to place objects on a page. So I don't know, for those of you that are new to this and new to sort of learning to draw, the struggles you might have getting lines on the page is going to be quite an interesting one in terms of how your brain thinks. The way you get around that is through practicing and through running logically through a series of basic techniques and formats. But I can see a couple of people are new at learning to draw. The other thing I wanted to share with you is my recent sketches where I have looked at perspective. So over Christmas, there was a lot of perspective drawings with pastels fading into the distance. And most recently, this is now 2-point perspective. So working with 2 different points. So I'm going to move on to that next and show you how to do that. This was another 1-point perspective sketch. So this is our 1-point perspective, which are people happy and very basically understand how this works. I'm interested to see how many people would have tried and picked this up as a sketch in its own right now.
Just a couple of quick, sorry, just a couple of quick questions.
Yep.
Plus one relates to that. Jack's asked, how did you draw the trees as they got closer?
How did I draw the trees when I got closer?
As they got closer to you.
As they got closer to you. So again, this is about proportion. So if we wanted to take this 1-point perspective a step further, remember the Leonardo painting at the beginning. Leonardo then employed techniques to help him ensure that he drew things proportionally. It got a lot more complicated with the Last Supper, but for our benefit, what you can do to help you with understanding proportion, because proportion is slightly different to perspective, is you can create a series of lines in your drawing that fall between your horizon line and your vanishing point. So in the case of things getting larger in front of you, you can then use these lines as guides. You can then, even further, is break up your page. And by the way, this gets so much easier the more you practice. Your eye will absolutely get this the more you practice doing this. You will instinctively, whenever you go out for a walk to your local park, whatever it is you're doing, you will suddenly start to see it in a very different way. A lot of people also ask me about live drawing and also about working from a photo. When you're learning perspective, I would suggest you take a picture and you use it as your natural frame of reference to start with, okay? So back to Jack's question, how do you draw the trees getting closer to you? So here you have created a little bit of a framework for you. So here you have the opportunity to then start adding your trees at different sizes. Remember that as objects run away from you, they get smaller. So you follow the lines of the picture like so. Okay. And that's how you can build and ensure that you keep your objects in proportion. So if we wanted to add a park bench, for example, you would do so here. You would follow the same proportion. Okay. If this makes sense. Does that answer the question, Jack? Hopefully it does. And again, can you see how things move away from you? And we started with that 1-point horizon. Okay, so here we have it. Can you see already how that becomes a lot easier to sort of manage? So start with your horizon line and then look at your vanishing point in the middle and then move away. This is really, really common in landscapes. And tomorrow's sketchbook challenge, get outside, take a picture of your local park and have a go sketching it. Okay, so that is 1-point perspective. It's all about the vanishing point. What happens when we introduce 2-point perspective? So very often when we are drawing objects, let's get rid of my sunglasses. Two-point perspective. So we it does what it says on the tin. So we draw our horizon line here, like so. And here's one point, and here's the second point. These are our two vanishing points. Okay. I would then always advocate just drawing a line in the middle. So this is very commonly about two lines that will never meet, but have two vanishing points. So watch. So I'm going to use a ruler, I think. Okay. This is a very old ruler. It might not even be straight, in fact. So here we go. Very, very common for boxes. Okay. So here is one vanishing point. Exactly the same principle as the first vanishing point. And then the second vanishing point is like so. I'm sure you can draw this a lot more accurately than I can. Can you see how that works? Horizon line, two vanishing points. Okay, so what you can now do is use that to help you draw a very, very simple box shape. Look. Okay. So there is your basic box shape, okay, based on a horizon line. So as an example of that, let me show you some boxes of Yorkshire tea. So here is the basic box concept. So when you're drawing anything bulky or shaped or in box format, this is what you're going to need to use, the 2-point perspective. Or a book, for example, is also based on 2-point perspective. And what I'd like to do now is show you a live sketch that I want to do. I tried it earlier and I made lots of mistakes, which I want to share with you. I have got some lovely vintage teacups. So this, I'm going to try and sketch this teacup. I figured everybody must have brought a cup with them this evening. You can see from my earlier sketch, I attempted to draw this using 1-point perspective, and it didn't quite work. You can see that it's slightly skew with, it's not level. I could have probably got away with it if I had, sorry, can I ask everybody to go on mute if that's possible? There we go. And what I'd now like to do is show you how I do the teacup, but using 2-point perspective, which is a much more stable type of perspective to use. So let me just accentuate the lines again. So here is this is my line at the top, like so. Okay, and what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to, where did I just put my teacup? Put it somewhere. I'm going to sketch this. You guys won't see it in the same perspective I will, but perhaps you can mimic my approach with whatever cup you've got in front of you. So I'm going to pop my cup on here on my laptop and I'm going to get going. Okay, so I'm going to use the top of my line here as my reference point to help me. and again. This gets easier over time. But any guidelines that you can give yourself is helpful. So as you can see, my cup is on a tilt. I can see into it like so. Okay. I hope people are drawing with me. This cup is actually as old as I am. So it was quite a terrifying experience bringing it from the kitchen to the studio for fear of breaking it. It's funny, isn't it? Antique things, they don't really get used for what they were created to do. I'm sure we all have one of those. Mick, any questions while I'm getting on with this?
Yeah, there's a few actually.
Okay. Go on then.
Kira has asked, should things be lighter the further the distance, as in perspective wise?
Lighter as in the color, or?
I think the shade.
Yeah, it depends what the light is doing of what you're drawing. It's up to you. They could be. Yeah.
Actually, that was from Julie, I think. Okay. Kira has asked, what if we were trying to draw a person?
Okay, so people is a completely different thing, although similar. People you use foreshortening. So I guess the people equivalent of perspective is foreshortening. When I do a very quick run through of 3-point perspective in a minute, I think that can apply to people. People can apply to all of these, but they follow a little bit of a different rule.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. From Corky's mum, for future sessions, perhaps we can do something to remove the glare on Emily's table. Probably a tablecloth. Yes. I'm going to suggest a high-tech tablecloth.
A high-tech tablecloth?
Yeah.
Okay. What is a high-tech tablecloth?
It's just a tablecloth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah.
Amy has asked, for your tea boxes, were they at the same 2-point perspective? It seems like the vanishing points were different for each box.
Yeah, they were. And I think, again, they were very, very roughly drawn. Yeah. So, again, vanishing points are really up to you in terms of how you set them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
S has asked, how do we know when to use 1 or 2-point perspective?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is trial and error. It's also having a think about what you can see on your horizon line and where different points start, end, and the content of what you're drawing. Landscapes tend to be 1-point perspective, for example. Things like I'm drawing now are very much the 2-point perspective sort of rule. But again, I think it's trial and error, if that's helpful.
Yeah, Emma's asked a really good question. If you don't draw the vanishing points and horizon lines correctly, will it ruin the drawing?
No, I don't think it does. And again, this goes back to that first comment and quote where it says, don't obsess too much about worrying about taking this literally. They're there as a guide. And, you know, even from this teacup now, I might bring it out here, for example, or take it wide. In fact, I probably will take it a little bit wider. It's there to guide you, put the right kind of picture together. And then over time, you won't need these constructs or these tools to build pictures like this one. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, don't worry too much about breaking the rules.
Yeah. Therese has asked, the challenge is that often perspective is not just one. How do we make it clear that it's one perspective?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. Do you mean Do you mean when you draw something, it looks wonky or not quite in the right context? Can you just expand a little bit on the question?
I can't, but I suspect Therese
can.
In
the chat.
Yeah. Serinda's asked if it's possible to let people know before the next session if we're going to use a prop. So, but yes. I suppose we don't need to use a cup, do we? Could use a pair of glasses.
You could use a pair of glasses. I think one of the things this week, folks, was I wanted to respond to a few comments made last week about sketching live. So, and again, you know, you can use any prop that you like to apply these rules to. But yeah, well made, Surinder. Thank you. I think next week is watercolor. So yeah, we can take it from there. Thank you.
Okay. Lynn has put, never noticed that cups are 2-point perspective items.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But you know what? You've got to experiment with what works for you. Most things have got to follow a rule, especially if they're on an angle. So I'm just going to see if I can try and show you. If this cup is on an angle like that, you can see that this is getting narrower as it moves away from you, and then it gets wider at this point, and then at this point, and then narrower again. So because this is logical and it's mathematically put together, and yet it's a circle, which are really difficult to draw, having some sort of linear rules. And again, what I would say with my sketch here, by the way, it's not perfect because look how wide this cup is. Okay, so it means that what I needed to do is expand, and this is to the point about what happens if we go out of the lines. If I was being really pedantic about this sketch, I would now look at widening it out a little bit, and I would kind of make everything a little bit bigger, and then add more bits to it and expand, rub out these lines, beef it out a little bit, make this, hang on, let me just pop my prop back. But you see the point that all of this is your practice space. But yeah, this is the 2-point perspective rule. I probably need to make that a little bit higher. Everybody wants to be, Can I ask everybody to pop themselves on mute if possible? Thank you. Okay, what did people think to that? Do you think it's an idea that you can try? Let's hear from people in the chat. Any questions on what I have just actually put together? Brilliant, Sam, give it a go. Kira, fantastic. So folks, do tag me in your cup or glass trials. That would be brilliant. And I can show you a couple more examples of that. Bear with me. So another example actually of 1-point perspective. Look at that, a corridor in your home with your front door. Look, there you go. Everyone has a front door, folks. So this is your 1-point exercise idea as well. A front door with a mirror, okay? That's 1-point perspective. A washing machine is another idea. Okay, let's have a look. There's one of my cups there. And here is another 2-point perspective idea, is your glass. So again, we've got different lines doing different things. So there are so many things you can actually try and give things a go with, okay? So go away, play with those things, have a go. You can rewatch the video when I upload it, and that will give you an idea. You might want to watercolor over it. You might add some tea or liquid to the cup, and so on and so forth. But I suspect I'll work on that a little bit. and then you can go for it yourselves. But do tag me, do share it with me, and do come back to me if you're struggling. I would love to hear from you. So the video gets uploaded to my learning community. You will receive a email tomorrow morning telling you where you can find it. So folks, we've covered 1 point perspective. So off you go outside in the landscape, take some pictures, practice sketching that. We've covered 2 point perspective. This is just one of the examples of a household object that you can use it with. Now we're coming on to 3 point perspective, which is possibly my least favorite, but you need to know about it, but it probably won't be used that much. So 3 point perspective is, again, about 3 different points. So what I'm going to do is actually rotate it this way. And 3 point perspective is very, very much used in urban landscapes and scenes, very much to look down at a building or look up at a building. So we have 3 points.
Okay.
Oh, can I ask somebody to pop themselves on mute? Apologies for this, folks. Normally Zoom does this for me, but my settings have disappeared today. So thank you for that. And 3 point perspective always works in a triangular fashion. So I'm going to be on top of a skyscraper looking down at another skyscraper. And here is how we do it. So it always starts as a triangle. And again, sorry, let me just add, sorry, my thicker pencil. So the great thing about perspective is you can play with the lines to help you. And again, I'm going to slice this in half and come down a little bit. So here is our 1 point there. Here is our 2nd point, and here is our 3rd. These 3 points will never meet. So however long they run, they can run for infinitum, but they will never meet. And again, I'm on the top of a skyscraper. So what I'm going to do here, very basically, is draw in standing on a skyscraper roof. Okay. So those of you, I think I saw a comment about drawing buildings. Is that right? Did somebody put a comment about that in there? So you will
somebody
see.
tried drawing a building.
Okay. Buildings are brilliant to draw once you master perspective. So here we are. I'm standing somewhere looking down on a building. I very, very rarely use this type of perspective at the minute. Because I tend to spend a lot of my time drawing from life in my sketchbook. I use 1 and 2 point perspective, and actually it's pretty much all I need. Somebody asked about humans as well. There's a really brilliant artist called Jenny Saville. Some of you may know her. And she looks up at people and she looks down on people. And no, sorry, not proverbially, but technically. And again, you can apply foreshortening, which is a different subject that we'll probably cover later this year. But you can apply the same context to 3 point perspective as you would a human. So for example, my little girl was in her coat earlier this week. So she's got a huge head on the camera here. And then her body gets much smaller as she's standing looking up at me on the pavement. I don't think you can see that too easily. So here is a very rough picture of my little girl. Her hands might be slightly bigger here, waving at the camera. And her feet will actually look much smaller. This is incredibly rough, folks, but the concept of 3-point perspective or foreshortening is the same. You're expanding from a triangular point almost, and that will help you with that context. But that is 3-point perspective there. But I'm hoping it's 7:45. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, so bear with me. We're going to take some questions in a minute, and I'm going to just move my camera back. I might come back to that if we've got any more technical questions that people want me to draw. But those essentially are the 3 perspectives that you need in your sketchbook to get going. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 are the majority that you need to use. Okay, I'm just going to get back to the presentation. So 1-point perspective, we covered that. 2-point perspective are lines that converge on 2 vanishing points. So linear perspective is a technique for representing 3-dimensional space on a flat surface. And we talked about a vanishing point, the point in space where items seem to disappear. So remember the footpath that you were walking on, disappearing off into the distance, vertical lines, and then your straight lines drawn from top to bottom. 3-point perspective is a form of linear perspective that uses 3 vanishing points in which forms utilize each of the 3 vanishing points to convey the illusion of depth on a 2D surface. Those meanings, by the way, they're lovely, aren't they, written down? They're very verbal, but actually, unless you've seen them drawn like I've just run through them, I think they don't mean very much. What I wanted to come on to very quickly now is I have developed a product called the Signature Sketchbook Kit that supports you incorporate and learn about sketchbook structure and purpose. And one of the things that I'm challenging everybody that I meet and come across is not only to get inspired to draw, I'm passionate about sharing all my skill sets about drawing, but I also believe that there are extra things you need to pull it all together. And based on my story 3 years ago, when I started sketching again, really passionately, it was always all over the place. I wasn't sure what I was doing, what techniques I needed to use. And really by trial and error, I have now pulled together a structure and a system for filling a sketchbook, staying motivated and encouraged to kind of keep going. And I think one of the challenges I want to put to you today is whether you need some support actually moving that forward for yourself. So by all means, I think lots of you actually draw already anyway and keep amazing sketchbooks and learn lots of different things as you go. But some of you might be interested in exploring a second option, which is a step-by-step framework and plan to help you put sketchbooks together. And the Signature Sketchbook course is a 5-day course that's designed to help you build your confidence, start and explore a drawing habit, and establish the mindset you need to fill a sketchbook. Because with all due respect, we start strong, but then things taper off, things change. We don't have a consistent approach to what we do and create. And I'm really convinced that with a little bit of help, you can learn new techniques and connect with your inner artist whilst you're filling that sketchbook. And one of the exciting things that I wanted to share with you tonight is the step-by-step framework that I put in place. So there are 4 different steps. that I have put together for this. Step one is understanding what type of sketchbook you're interested in putting together and setting you up for success in terms of what types of things do you need to take into consideration when you're doing that. Step two is about applying your learning and building a library of techniques and tools, a little bit like we've done this evening with things like perspective. We do a lot of outside drawing, we do inside objects, different kind of creative approaches. And then we create your first 5 days full of drawings through a daily sketching habit. And then in the fourth step, we look at crafting an action plan and an approach to completing a sketchbook over the next 30 days. The course launches on the 31st of January, so in 2.5 weeks. It's 5 days. I'm jumping on live twice a day, and it's recorded for you to watch within the course framework. You can download the materials forever and ever. 15 professionally put together videos for you to watch and work through, and it's also there for you to work through at your own pace. It's 5 days, but actually what I'm doing is building a framework for you for 30. So if 2022 is about creating your creative journey, this might be something you can consider. I think we're now almost at time. I think I've done quite well there, Mick. We've got 10 minutes for questions. Please feel free to ask me anything, whether it's perspective. I had a question about colouring pencils, is that right?
You did?
I did, okay. So let me just come out of my presentation so I can see what's happening. So my colouring pencils, I'm a tart when it comes to colouring pencils and art materials. Let me tell you, folks, I truly am. I have so many. So the ones that I have currently got, I use lots of different ones. I use the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencil. I think a good watercolor pencil is, first of all, multi-dimensional. Go for art products that are multi-dimensional, that you can use in more than one way, so that you can actually explore lots of different techniques. So those are the ones that I'm currently using. They're very, very good on smooth paper. They're brilliant as well, blending with pastels, which I have just discovered. Did somebody say, please repeat the name of, was that the colouring pencil? Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer. We can put a link to them in the notes. But I also use Derwent. I also use Daler Rowney. And really, it's trial and error in terms of what you feel works for you. When you're choosing an art material, though, bear in mind that different types of paper, you might have sketchbooks with very, very different ranges of paper, like different materials. And next week, as part of our quick watercolor session, I'll be looking at the textures and the papers and kind of giving you a little bit of an advice on what all of those things mean. But those are my my go-to watercolor pencils at the minute. They're beautiful. Any more questions, Mick?
Do you prefer watercolors to acrylics?
Yes, but it's because I am out and about a lot, and because I've been a professional. My watercolor kits come with me, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about them next week. Acrylics, great, but they're not as portable, and I think not as efficient as watercolors.
Okay. Can you tell us how you decide on the angle of the diagonals?
For the perspective,
yeah.
Again, visuals, trial and error. This is where a photograph of your object can help you, because the natural picture frame of your photo will create a sense of placing that object. It's really, really difficult to place and find an angle when you're out in the air, out in the open air. And also, this is where actual proportion and I'm trying to think of the word. You can actually set up your visual to help you do that, but it comes in time too.
Okay. Somebody's asked, will you do a class on proportion?
Yes, I can do. And I think I also need to do one on context that would answer how you decide on angles.
Which perspective would you use to draw a shoe?
A shoe? Oh, a shoe. I probably would do 1 point perspective. 1 second, I'll show you my shoes. I've done shoes. Shoes are great. Here is some shoes. Can you see that? So again, if you have a look at this boot, you can see it depends on your angle of your shoe. So this one sat on a 1 point, my horizon line is here, and it sat on a tilt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It depends on the angle of your shoe.
Rose has asked, can you help on pencil shading 1 week too, please?
Yes, cross hatching. I think there's a little bit about that in the sketchbook course too. Okay. But cross hatching, yeah, I can help with some of that. Yeah.
Do you use tea, coffee, onion water, etc.?
Do I use tea, coffee, and onion water? What, when I'm painting?
I'm not sure. It's an enigmatic
yeah.
question.
Yes, when painting. Sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I've traditionally stuck to watercolors, gouache, coloring pencil.
What was the name of the artist who draws figures looking up? Jenny Saville.
Jenny Saville.
I'll put that in.
Yeah, she's quite out there, but she's a great artist for foreshortening and proportion.
And how much is the course?
The course is £199.
Okay. Is there 4, 5, 6, etc. perspective? 4, 5, 6
I don't think there is actually. What you tend to find is that most perspectives are a combination of the 3 as well. So you will find a lot of visuals mixing 3 of those things together.
You mean there isn't, or there isn't yet?
There isn't. No.
There isn't yet.
There isn't yet.
Just wish the pencil lines were a little darker. So there's loads of feedback that we can use for next week, which is really helpful.
In terms of installments, somebody just asked that about the course. Yes, there is. You can pay in 3 installments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you draw a box in 1 point perspective, is one side facing you head on?
I guess yes, you can do, but you'd have to introduce a new line, I think, to do that. I think that's right.
Yeah. Somebody's asked, what about portraits? Which perspective?
Well, depends how your figure is sitting, and it depends if they're full on and the face. There are all sorts of different proportions and shading that you would employ with a portrait. I have done a bit of portraiture work, but haven't really needed to worry too much about perspective unless they are sitting or at an angle. But again, human figure drawing is slightly different, even though you would employ some of the same techniques.
Yeah. Nuri has said, what about, oh no, I've just asked that one. I don't understand what watercolor pencils are, so maybe we could cover that in another session.
Yeah, I can quickly probably include that next week in quick watercolor sketching. Yeah. Any more questions?
Because there's loads of really positive comments.
Brilliant. Thanks for bearing with me at the beginning, folks.
Thank you so much. Learned so much tonight in that time. I can't believe it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What perspective would I use to draw a horse head?
What perspective?
Yeah, somebody asked about a boxer earlier.
A boxer?
A boxer dog, yeah.
A boxer dog. Again, it's the proportion of and the angle that things sit at. So let me show you really, really quickly. A couple of weeks ago, I went hiking and I drew a horse, would you believe? And it was really frustrating because the horse was on a perspective. So can you see him there? Some of you may have seen it on social media. So can you see how his body, again, if you technically drew the lines around him, he sits on a 1 point perspective, but that's because of the angle that he sits on. He's not necessarily, if he was sideways on, it would just be drawing him as if he was head on. So with animals, with anything like that, they also fit within the landscape that they are within. So with your boxer, with anything like that, you want to set them within the context of their wider environment. And that means they will also have to have shorter bodies, whereas we are tempted to draw them much bigger, but actually they're foreshortened because they're sitting on an angle away from us. So a horse head can slightly also be the same. I'm working on a big visual of a horse at the minute, actually, and it's driving me bonkers, but the same rules apply. You know, it's how you set down your lines and how you shade, set it in context. Hope that's helpful.
Yep. For a corner of a room, what perspective would you use?
2 point perspective. But this is where, if you're looking down on the room, so if you're doing an architectural drawing looking down on the room, you would use 3 point perspective, and then you would set the objects at either 2 or 1 point perspective within that room. So if you looked at that, this being your room, this is your room here, you would put your bed inside it. That would also follow the 2 point perspective rule. That's what I would start with, actually. I would do the 2 point perspective there, looking at it from that perspective.
Donna's asked, now that we did one class, will we get notices to join in other classes?
Yeah, so all of my stuff is on emilysnotebook.co.uk. And technically, you should receive newsletters from me moving ahead. All of my classes are listed on my website. So there's a section on the homepage that talks about sketch sessions. So you can click on there and go book on them. I am going to be doing these every Wednesday for the next year. I've made that commitment. There might be a couple of weeks, give and take, where I'm away, but I'll let people know about that. Really, these are just sort of practice sessions. If you're basic and learning to draw, these are really, really, really good. Keep a sketchbook in between them as well, because you will fill it over the space of the next few months.
Julie's asked, if I draw a road with mountains in the background, how would I do this? 1
point perspective. So if you are standing at the beginning of the road, it's moving away from you and your mountains are in front of you along the horizon line. So exactly how we did the trees here, but I would replace these trees with the mountains at the back. Okay.
Yeah.
Any more? Keep coming. These are brilliant questions.
Loads of positive feedback.
Great.
Trying to find questions. Not sure.
Thank you, Janet. Nice to see you. Great to see you on the call. All of these people that have been around for quite a while and have supported these sessions as they've been running. It's really good to see you guys.
Yeah, if Sammy's still here, I will feed that back to Emily.
Okay.
Really positive, but we'll get the chat anyway.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot without going way back.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Sorry, Sharon just asked, what about points on which lines to erase on some of the perspectives? 3 point.
So say that question again, Mick.
Sharon's written, what about points on, oh, sorry, it's scrolling through. What about points on which lines to erase on some of the perspectives in 3 point? I think that means.
I'm not sure what the question means.
No.
It's all right. We'll come back to you.
And the recording, Alize, the recording will be available on the website.
Yes, so the recording is available on my learning platform. So again, head to Emily's notebook. There's a section called Learn with Me. It takes you to my learning platform. It's got last week's basic sketching session on there. It's also got a tutorial about how to sketch and draw an apple. I'll be uploading everything on there. So you will have a portfolio of different things that you can access to help you learn to draw.
Yeah, people saying thank you now.
Brilliant. Okay, folks, I think well done. Thank you for bearing with me at the beginning as we got through the tech. I am going to be adding different pieces of tech to get these a little bit more professional over the next few months. So bear with me. Do stay in touch with me. Send me your stuff. That would be brilliant. I love to see it. Tag me on Insta and follow me on Facebook. Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, get in touch. Next week, we're doing something on quick watercolor. So I'm going to be sharing how I use watercolor in my sketchbook pretty much on a daily basis. And please do read the newsletters when you get them. They're also going to have lots of articles and blog tips about how you build a successful sketchbook habit. And I hope I will see some of you on the sketchbook course. Do take a look at it. And I can't wait to get that started with the people that have booked onto it on the 31st of January. So it's over and out from me. Have a brilliant rest of the evening. Go draw. I want to hear from you next week that you have conquered perspective. If anyone has any burning questions, get in touch. It's been lovely to meet some of you for the first time, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Mick.
Thank you.